What's up, world? Here for another episode of Dream Chasers, which is a show I created to help people from all walks of life to turn their dreams into reality. It's a show that is sponsored by GigTown, which is this amazing app that helps musicians and fans of music to get connected so really they can accomplish their dreams. And you can check out GigTown at gig.town/Dream Chasers for an exclusive look for our audience. Again, that's gig.town/Dream Chasers. Today, I'm really excited to have Helen Cloots on the show. Helen is a awesome yoga teacher, runs the floating yoga school, and we have some synergy in our stories, which is really cool. She used to be in corporate wellness consulting for Towers and Watson, Kaiser Permanente, names that you know, and actually took the jump and became a full-time yoga teacher and is now on this evolution of monetizing her own brand. And it's so cool because we've known each other. Like when I came out of college, I came to you for yoga classes and just kind of like watched each other on the journey. And here we are, like at a more, I guess, serious level of making it happen. So thanks for coming on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell people a little bit about, more specifically, your journey to how you got where you are now?
Yeah. I can make this really long or really short, so I'll try and condense it as much as possible.
Okay.
Growing up, I always wanted to help people. Was pre-med in college, took the MCAT, thought I was going to med school, and then realized it was less about medicine and more about people. So I ended up going to school for public health. That brought me to New York City. That led me into wellness consulting on the corporate side, helping companies make their employees healthier. And through that, I kind of found wellness and yoga for myself. So how do I keep myself healthy and balanced in this kind of work hard, play hard, New York City, young adult professional mode? Fell in love with yoga, moved out to San Diego 7 years ago, continued with the corporate wellness consulting through Kaiser Permanente, but then found that I was actually, maybe a little bit down. Like I would go to work and was telling these companies to do this amazing stuff for their employees, but I was sitting in a car for 5 hours a day, commuting all around Southern California, eating dinners and lunches at Starbucks and random fast food places. And I didn't feel like I was practicing what I was preaching. Through that, I had gotten my yoga teacher training certificate more for me and to understand yoga a little bit better, and started teaching a little bit and found that those moments that I was teaching yoga were the times that I was the happiest. So it's like, how do I do this full time? How do I really live what I'm talking about and make this something that I can do to sustain myself and create an awesome life? So took the jump in 2012, had saved up like a set amount of money that I knew that I wanted to feel good about, be able to pay off my car and support myself for a few months. Started teaching yoga and taught up to like 18 classes a week when I first started.
Whoa.
Just crazy. Yeah. And so that became a good lesson for me too, that, okay, even if you love something, there's got to be a little bit more balance. So I kind of pulled it back a little bit, found a way to manage yoga studios, to lead teacher trainings, to do yoga in different ways and kind of incorporate some of the business side. And now 4 years later, I'm taking the business to the next level with my floating yoga school. Traveling, which is something I love to do, spending a little bit more time writing, which is something I've always wanted to do more of, and continue to lead yoga teacher trainings, help people find wellness and balance in their life through my YouTube channel, and then also explore tropical, amazing places with floating yoga school. So yeah, definitely an evolution, a constant change, but excited to see where it goes.
Well, and like we were just talking about, I think it's a constant evolution, and you have to be willing to go with that evolution. Sometimes that can be really hard. So for you, how have you been able to go along the stream with that evolution?
Yeah. So I've had some really amazing supportive people in my life that constantly remind me, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? For me, I'm easily distracted. There's a lot of things that I'm good at and that I could do. And so someone would say, hey, you should do this. You'd be a really great studio manager. And I think the ego side of me was like, oh, great, they want me to do this. Yeah, that's another way I can make money and I'm not having to teach as much. But do I really want to manage a yoga studio? Maybe not. So I've learned to say no a lot, to cut out things that are not ultimately going to lead me in the direction that I want to go, which is a really hard thing to do. I'm more of a yes person. And even to start to back away from relationships with friends or business acquaintances that are not serving me to my fullest purpose. and always kind of taking a step back. So what are the goals? I was lucky enough to be a Lululemon ambassador for about 2 years. And one of the things that they're really big on is setting goals, 5-year, 10-year, and then 1-year goals that will get you to those places. And so I try, if not, every 6 months, every month, or every week, even to look back at my goals. Like, what is it that I want to do? And it does, it constantly evolves, but there's always these themes in there. So travel's been a big one. Helping people has been a really big one. That's kind of lasted my whole life. So how do I adapt and kind of evolve, but stay true to what those foundational goals are?
Yeah, well, I think you hit on an amazing point, which is you have to focus on like what you want to do, because the world is going to throw in so many different directions at you what they think you could do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's positive, like someone asking you to be a studio manager is totally a positive thing.
Yeah.
If it's not in alignment with who you want to be though, then that shouldn't work out. And I think that comes back to being able to step back and say like, what do I want? So for you, do you have any exercises or activities you do to help you kind of step back and see the bigger picture?
Yeah, for sure. Kind of visualizing my life in 10 years. Sometimes 10 years seems really far away. So it might be in 5 years, it might be 1 year, I read something recently that's like living the same life 90 years in a row, or the same year 90 years in a row, is not called living. And I truly believe that we do grow and evolve. And so, we're in 1 year, if I think about March of 2017, what do I want to wake up and be doing? Who do I want to be next to? What do I want to be eating for breakfast? Like really small little details. And then how do I make that happen? And for me, it's less about the achievements, like what does it look like on paper? How much money is in my bank account? But what are the feelings of, everyday life? Like what's that sense of adventure? What's that sense of contentment or peace with what I have? So that's a really big practice, is kind of that visualization, a little mini meditation. Yoga is a huge one for me. Being able to physically move and kind of get things flowing helps me be really creative as far as what I want to do, as far as writing, as far as like, okay, what are the next steps? So I definitely have to be super active. And then gratitude, finding gratitude for the things that I have right now, how far I've been. Sometimes gratitude's for the lessons of things that haven't worked out, and right. I wouldn't change anything, even though there've been things that if I were an outsider, I'd be like, oh, that's scarier. I can't believe I went through that. But you learn so much that I think living with no regrets and being like, okay, I learned this from this lesson. It's done. I'm moving on. And now where do I want to take my life?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting, especially with gratitude, because there's a huge difference between actually feeling it in the space where you are now and actually just saying that you're grateful for everything that you had. And this is a struggle that I've had. I'm very type A, and I'm always thinking about, well, I'll be happier when I get to this place. And, I'm so grateful for what I have. It just, I was never able to get myself in that space of being truly understanding of that point. And understanding is a huge part of it. And yesterday I was listening to a YouTube video. I had a breakdown this week for myself where I almost quit doing Dream Chasers all together. Yeah, because I was so lost in feeling needy and wanting to achieve my goals. And then I heard this amazing YouTube video by his YouTube channel name is Julian himself. And his name is Julian, I believe. I'll link to it in the show notes. And one of the aspects he pointed about, he's actually a pickup artist and someone who has branded himself. And really, it is a genuine business to help guys achieve their full potential, which is needed. And I basically heard from him, he had all the money, the women, everything that you would want. You realize he was not happy.
Yeah.
And he thought, well, why can't I just be happy right now? And I thought, oh my God, I'm seeing so much of myself in this guy, because there are so many reasons I should be happy. I have a nice apartment, I have money, I have all these things. So why not start there and not worry about the end result? And once I get to a certain place, it'll be a lot better. And honestly, it was like a weight came off my shoulders.
Yeah. And I think doing what you do and doing what I do and being able to have these conversations with other people, bouncing things off and having this universal struggle that no matter where we are and how successful we may look to outsiders, that there's always someplace else we want to go, which is awesome because we are dreamers and we continue to chase those, right? But also, being able to look in the other direction and say, wow, there's people who would give anything to be where we are right now. So maybe there's that sense of gratitude for that. For me, it really helps to work with people kind of in very different life stages. So this is funny. I work with a 92-year-old woman.
Wow.
Yeah. And I stay at her house a couple days a week, and just having that perspective on life where, you know, her biggest issues are, why is the dishwasher broken? Do I have to get a new dishwasher? Can we just wash dishes together? Or going for a walk with her and seeing people like being annoyed that we're crossing the street slowly because she has a walker. And it's just like, oh my gosh, all of these things in life that we're so stressed out about are really not that important, you know?
Yeah.
I also babysit, so like little kids, and they're like amazement at everything. Like, what's this? What did this person say? Like, what is that person doing? They just say whatever they think. And so having that different perspective, you know, we get so caught up in the everyday that I think that really helps. I've also done a lot of work with drug and alcohol rehab and teaching yoga to those populations. And I think when you're in a vulnerable place and you're in a big change like that in recovery or going through a transition in your life, whether you're a kid or old or just an adult changing paths, that change and that evolution and that vulnerability that you have to go through to get to the next step is really beautiful. And if we can spend more time kind of appreciating those transitions, as challenging as they may be in the moment, the more we can build some of that gratitude. And sometimes it's not even ours, it's somebody else's that makes you realize that yours is not so bad, if that makes sense.
Well, it totally makes sense. And I think what would be helpful for everyone out there is to further understand how they can handle that transition in a grateful way or graceful way, excuse me, because when you're really in the middle of the struggle, it's really hard to get out of your own head. So how would you break that down as simply as possible to explain to people how to deal with those?
If I could figure this out, I'd be like a billionaire right now.
Right. Well, that's why I'm in the conversation, you know?
No, totally. Yoga is a great practice, you know, simply put, just taking a step back. I think in the practice of yoga, thinking about yourself as an observer of yourself. How do I react? What are the thoughts that are coming in? What are these sensations? How does my physical affect my mental and vice versa? You know, a lot of people have these like slumped in shoulders because we're always busy working. And how do I open up my body to open up kind of my mind and my heart? And so a physical practice, like an asana practice where you get out on your mat and you do poses is really great because not only you're releasing energy, you're building strength, but you're also taking that chance to look at yourself from a different perspective outside of the lens of your normal life. So I definitely recommend yoga. Anything that finds balance. Like I love being outside, getting into nature. I think hiking, taking off your shoes, putting your feet in the sand, going to a park, stepping in the dirt, playing with kids, you know, having something a little bit more playful, adventurous. And that's a huge part of Floating Yoga School too, is these retreats and exploring different places, seeing different cultures, just getting another perspective kind of outside of your own is really huge. And then finding people that you're comfortable talking with, I think is really big. And not everyone's a talker. Like I tend to be let me just go into my shower and cry when something's happening. And that's cool. Like that's what I need. And I get it out. And then later I'm like, okay, let me process what just happened. And I'll find someone that I can talk to about it if that's what I choose. But knowing how you tick. And that's where yoga comes really into play. So knowing that you're type A and that you have a tendency to do X, Y, and Z, how do you create a path for yourself to kind of check yourself on those things? So is it things that you write on the wall? Is it a daily affirmation practice? Or knowing that I'm a shower crier, you know, do I need to have a monthly date with a girlfriend where it's just like, spill the beans, you know, tell me everything and no judgments, you know, it all stays like we're in Vegas or something. So I think knowing yourself, and that's where yoga can be really powerful, is understanding how you work. And we're all a little bit different. But yeah, other balance practices. Meditation is big. A lot of people have a hard time sitting still, but they don't realize that meditation can be so much more. Moving meditation, go for a walk, silently notice your footsteps, swimming, surfing. I know runners that say it's very meditative. I've not found that, but some people love that. Playing music, you know, you're just so absorbed in this music if you're a musician that I think that that's totally a meditation. Dancing. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's all about taking the first step to actually do these things, right? Because you know, even if you're just starting meditation or you're an avid yoga practitioner, you have to get yourself there no matter what you're going through. And sometimes that can be the hardest part. And this isn't just, you know, in exercise, it's in business too. And once you get there, you are fine.
Yeah.
You just have to commit yourself that you're going to be there. And whether that means you get an accountability buddy.
Yeah, that's huge.
Or
me, it's on my planner. Like I'm kind of type A too.
Yeah.
So I have to write it on my planner and I have to know that if I don't go, I can't scratch it off. And it's like, oh, I got to go. I want to scratch it off. You know? Or signing up for a class. Like I tell this to friends all the time, like signing up for a class that they're going to charge you if you don't show up. Sometimes you need a financial incentive.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're like, okay, they're going to charge me whether or not I go. So I better go. You know, and then knowing that your problems are still going to be there when you get out, you're just going to have a better perspective to deal with them. Because I think so many people are like, oh, well, I felt really good in yoga and then I went home and I still felt like shit. And you're like, well, yeah, you know, there's still going to be issues, still going to have to pay your bills. There's still going to have to be adulting is the new verb, right? You're still going to have to adult if you're an adult. But hopefully you've gained a little bit more perspective and realize that you can always go back to that place of like peace and balance.
Well, let's talk about that piece of balance, because when you were talking about it earlier, I kind of had an interesting thought, which is when you're in the process of chasing your dreams, you kind of have to be unafraid to go out of balance to find balance, right? Really? Because you need sometimes to work so hard that everything else goes to the crapper, for lack of better words. Yeah. And then also you need to sometimes kind of step back and know. So for you, how have you created a structure for yourself to kind of have a little more balance in your life?
I'm definitely a planner in that way, like the schedule. I like to see when I'm going to do certain things. I like to set deadlines for myself. So I believe that you can get through almost anything if you know how long it's going to last. You know, like, okay, 2 more hours or 6 more weeks. Or when I was trying to quit my corporate job, it was like, okay, I just need this 20 grand in my bank account. That's a buffer so I can pay off my car and not feel like I'm stressed about money. And so, you know, and sometimes those change and those evolve, but having those little set points or little deadlines for yourself. So right now, I have like 6 more weeks until I leave town and go across country. And so I'm working a ton and I'm trying to meet up with friends and I'm a little bit out of my normal balance, but I know that it's okay. In the next 6 weeks, I just have to get all of these things done. And then I'll be one step closer to this ideal life that I've created for myself and that I'm building. So I think it is acknowledging the imbalances and then knowing what's going to bring you back and kind of setting little timelines for yourself of like, okay, next week, I'll make sure I get a massage or do something for me. Or Tuesday, you know, if my schedule's really busy, I know for at least 10 minutes, I'm just going to put on music and dance like a crazy person, you know, little things and having little things in your schedule to slowly bring yourself back into balance.
For sure. Those are great suggestions. You were talking about your journey out of being in corporate consulting. So for you, was making that jump to be a yoga teacher your most challenging moment?
I think the most challenging moment was telling people, which is weird. Like I knew for myself that it was the right thing to do, but I think there was this fear of judgment or should have, you know, like people thought, well, oh, you have this master's degree in public health and you've spent all this time in these like great schools getting an education and now you're, you know, and I don't feel this way, so hopefully there's no judgment, like just teaching yoga. You know, and for me, I'm like, I don't care what it looks like. I don't care. I didn't care what other people thought, but I did. And so it was like this crazy dilemma of, I know this is the right thing for me, but how do I convince people around me that it's the right thing for me so that they won't judge me? And then I finally got to the place where it's just like, screw it. Like, I just got to do it. And they'll either understand or they don't, you know? And so I think it's another silly cliche thing is like the people who matter don't care and the people who care don't matter. You know, so it's sort of like, just be you and do you. And the people who really love you and support you are going to be supportive of that, even if they don't get it. You know, like my parents are kind of like, interesting choice, but I know they still love me and I know they're still supportive. And the people who do care and who do judge you, like those are probably not that important in your life. So be okay with, again, saying no, cutting people out and kind of realigning with your value system. But yeah, that's always a scary moment is those big shifts.
Well, and you have to convince yourself too, to some degree, right? Because even in the process, you're like, well, I should do this. And you're still not sold. Because it takes some of those initial results to kind of sell yourself and get yourself to do that. So for you, how did you keep taking action when you weren't as sure about whether it was really right?
Yeah, you know, I think it was the idea that I knew I could always go back. It was like, okay, worst case, this doesn't work. and I'm not burning any bridges. You know, it wasn't like, see you later, middle fingers to everybody. It was like, okay, you know, I'm giving my 2 weeks. I'm doing all the right things that I need to do to continue to have these relationships with the business people that I was with, that in case it didn't work out, I could go back. Lucky enough that I was able to have that financial buffer where it was like, okay, you know, if things don't work out as well as planned, like I have a couple months saved up where I can look for another job or I can figure something out. But then always checking back in, like, where do I feel the best? You know, what are those moments where you just like smile or you're like, wow, this is my life, you know, like, the fact that we're having conversations about deeper things than like, where'd you go out last night? Or, you know, did you see that girl over there? Like, this is awesome. Like, this is what, to me, like, I want to be doing with my life. And so when you have those little moments, like, okay, that's the universe, like you're moving in the right direction. So like, as I was teaching yoga, like, oh yeah, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing and this feels right. And then if I'd get stressed out in a business meeting, like, okay, yeah, point taken, like I'm moving out of that. So I think and I think so many of us are not in tune, and that's another reason why I definitely push yoga. But finding those little moments where you check back in, like, how do I really feel? Like, how's my body reacting? Am I sweaty? Am I like tense? Like, maybe this isn't the right thing. Am I calm? Am I relaxed? Am I smiling? Am I laughing? Like, how do I move more in that direction? Because that's a healthier, happier zone.
So do you take time like every day to kind of check in with where, I mean, like outside of meditation to kind of check in, like where you're at, like physically, so forth?
Yeah, you know, every time kind of before I teach a yoga class, which is a practice that I started when I started teaching, even if it's like a minute or two, it's just like everyone's in the studio, close the door. It's like, all right, I'm present, I'm noticing how I'm feeling, and then I'm just kind of channeling that to my students and not necessarily worrying about me, if that makes sense. And that way I can give more. It's like I've taken care of myself and now I can give to everybody else. Showers are a really great place. Like I said, I cry in the shower. So maybe it's just like, okay, like, I don't know if you've ever taken Jonathan Oldrow's class. He talks about a grateful shower. Yeah. That's a really great practice. Like something where you're just like, okay, like I'm cleaning my body and I'm also kind of like cleaning my mind and just letting stuff run down the drain. Yeah. Kind of outside of meditation, I guess that would be those moments, you know, before you go to bed or when you first wake up, instead of reaching for your phone, just being like, okay, what am I doing today? What am I grateful for? Or where do I want to see myself? And how are the things that I'm doing kind of getting myself there? And if they're not, then being okay saying no. And that's been a really hard lesson, but a good one.
Why is that?
I think I want to please people. I think I've, you know, my whole life been this person that I like when people are happy. And so sometimes I would do things for other people's happiness that weren't necessarily making me the happiest, but I felt like their happiness was making me happy, so it was okay. And then later on, I would be stressed out. I remember my ex used to complain and be like, why are you letting these people drive you crazy? You know, like you're making them happy and they have no idea and you're not saying anything. And then I'd come home and complain and be like, oh my gosh, this, and this. And so, yeah, like knowing that it's awesome to want to help people and to want to make people happy as long as you're taking care of you first, and then you can take care of everyone else in a good way. And I think most successful people will say like they have to take care of themselves, successful, whatever that is, take care of themselves. And then once that gets into alignment, then everything else that they're trying to do kind of moves in that direction.
So what did you do to help you to start moving away from saying yes all the time?
Started to say no very slowly, practicing little things. Yeah, really taking a step back. And instead of like, I was always like, you'd ask me something like, yes, right away. And so just being like, hey, let me have 24 hours to think about it, or I'll get back to you, you know, not responding right away to things. And then really, again, going back to what are my goals? What do I want to do? And is this in alignment with what I want to do? And sometimes I would kind of like fake it. Like I'd be like, oh yes, because if I do this, then this will happen, and this will happen. It's like, okay, that's too many steps. If it's not like a direct correlation into where I want to go, then maybe it's time to say no. And it feels really good and empowering when you can actually do it, but it's hard to first be able to say no.
Well, especially when you have things that you genuinely want to do and you know you can't do them.
Yeah.
Because you have things that are more important that you have to tackle.
Yeah, that's a hard one. And also prioritizing, you know, like, well, I really want to do this and I really want to do this, but there's only so much time, you know, in the day to do one of the two. So how do I say no to one and yes to the other, or say yes to both or no to both, and what makes the most sense in the grand scheme? And then also being like, you know what, I messed up. I should have said no to this. I should have said yes to this, and being okay
Yeah.
with that, you know, live and learn.
Yeah. Well, I think the two biggest takeaways the audience can get from the last 5-10 minutes of our conversation is, one, you have to find a way to be able to step away from like where you're at and see how you're feeling, like whether you just turn all the lights off, shut everything out, or go on a walk. Basically get in tune with yourself and find what works best for you, because that's where the ultimate solution is going to be. And then oh shit, I forgot what we were talking about. What were you just talking about?
About the nose.
Oh, the nose. Yeah. So maybe coming back and saying, like, writing out, you know, what your priorities are, thinking about for you, like, how can I really see what is coming up in my life and like what's important for me? Like you said, not just jumping to a decision because you want to help as many people as possible.
And then, like you were saying, checking in with yourself, like knowing how you work. Like I have friends that love the lists, and in some ways I'm good at the, like the pros and the cons of the decision. And in other ways, like I've learned that like if my gut says yes, like it is okay to trust and say yes. And if something in me is like, oh, I get a weird feeling about that, like to say no. So figuring out how you tick, and we're all different. And what are those things? Does it mean taking a walk? Does it mean reflecting? Does it mean meditating on it? Does it mean taking 24 hours? Does it mean writing out all the pros and cons? What makes the most sense to you as a person, and how do you work the best? And then staying true to that as you make a decision. So, okay, I made this decision based on this, and I'm moving forward. I think the worst thing that people do is like second guess themselves. You know, oh, I could have done this. And there's things that don't work out, you know, in everyone's life. And so being like, I made the best decision I could at the time. I'm going to learn from it, move forward. And then know that if there's something in my gut for me that says no, like next time I'll say no. Or if I wrote out all the lists of pros and cons and that's what worked for you, like go with that, you know, and be okay with what you decide.
Well, yeah, and I think you bring up an interesting point, which is there's a lot more that goes wrong in people's lives than we realized.
Completely.
Because of Facebook, Instagram, all this stuff. We only see the good stuff.
Totally.
So no one sees me in my car crying, you know, 3 days ago about how the hell am I going to do this, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm saying that so for the other people out there, you understand that, like, it's okay to feel bad. Like, there's nothing wrong with feeling like you're stuck or angry, like you don't have all the answers. That's part of the process.
Completely. Or depressed or not happy with where you are, that you want to change things. I think it's, you know, and I've been through therapy, and they've told me, you know, like the releases are important. Like let it go, physical, mental, tears, whatever it is for you. And also be okay with the emotions that come up, joy or sadness, and the highs and the lows, the shadows and the light, you know, they provide kind of this like roller coaster, which can be sort of annoying, but also really beautiful. Like that's what life is about. You know, we wouldn't appreciate the great times if we didn't have the terrible times. And so, you know, knowing that when you hit the bottom, like there's only someplace up to go, and it can sound super cheesy. But yeah, I mean, I think that is it. It's like, it's totally okay to feel all the things. And I think to be really real with people about, you know, like this worked in my life and this didn't. But this is why I know that this is an important next step for me.
Well, I think the most important part is not to quit. Like, no matter how bad you want to quit, I mean, even if you need 24 or 48 hours to step away from whatever it is. Because I think, you know, like for me with this week, I was able to come back, and then I kind of had my moment, right? Because I went through the crap. And then on the other side, you know, there was more of a, I guess, an insight for me on that. And I think that's for anyone. And you're not always going to have that insight that's a game changer for you, right? But it's more about just saying, all right, I'm going to stay in the game long enough to get my next small win. And then once you start getting those small wins, you kind of forget that all the bad stuff happened. And then along the way, you're like, I'm glad that happened, because it makes you appreciate what you get.
And even if you decide long term that it's going to evolve, or your dream is going to change, or that certain pieces of it are going to fall away, like you said, I think that you are so appreciative of the lessons that you've learned along the way, that like to stay, you know, I don't want to say head down, but like, you know, stay the course as much as you can. You'll know when it's time to really say no, and you'll know when it's time to be like, okay, I just need to step back, understand that this is happening, and why is it happening, if there's a reason, and if not, okay, it happened, I appreciate it, and move forward. So yeah, like I think staying, and then I think also knowing there's certain things that you cut your losses and you move on. But I think if you really have a dream for something, like you can't you can't quit it, you know, or it's obviously never going to happen. So,
well, at the end of the day, you really don't want that thing bad enough.
Exactly. If you're really willing to, let it go.
Yeah. So for you, what's been the biggest lesson you've learned from the business aspect of your journey that you know now that you wish you knew when you started things off?
You don't have to do it all yourself. Hire people to do the stuff that you don't want to do. I am decent at a lot of stuff. Like I can figure out the accounting. I've built websites. I know WordPress. You know, I don't like social media, but I can do it, and I realize the importance of it. But then your whole day is full of stuff that you're not really looking forward to, and you don't have the energy and time to put into the stuff that you do want to do, and then you start to resent stuff. So, you know, especially as you're starting out, I think financially it can be really hard. Like you don't have the money to hire somebody. So is there someone that you can do a trade with? Is there somebody that is willing to help you out if you help them out in a different way? Or is it worth just being like, you know what, I'm going to have to pick up a little bit more jobs or stay in this job a little bit longer so I can pay $500 a month for someone to do X, Y, and Z that I don't want to do. So that's been a really big lesson for me, is like, I'll be like, oh, I want to save money, so I'm going to do all of it. But then at the end of the day, I'm doing it all and I'm not moving in the right direction, or moving, I don't want to say the right direction, moving as quickly in the areas that I really want to spend time in, because I'm bogged down with all this stuff that I don't love. So now I have people that are helping me with like Google Ads and social media and newsletters, so that I can spend time planning the fun stuff. Like, where's my next retreat going to be? Let me go and scope out a location in the Caribbean. Like, that's awesome. I love doing that.
That's sweet.
I don't want to hire someone to do that, but like, I don't mind hiring someone to be like, okay, figure out my taxes for me. Make sure my website looks good. You know, so finding those, I think delegating the stuff that you don't like, and finding supportive team members, even if you have to hire them, that will add to what you're doing.
So what would you say to people who have a fear of delegating?
You gotta learn how to do it.
I mean, like, I think sometimes like, you need to do it.
Yeah.
And actually just taking the first step to do it is really hard.
No, and I completely get that. And I have that too. And I think part of it is that it's going to take me so long to explain how I want it or what I want it done, that I could have just finished it in that time, you know, like, oh, well, this is my brand. But I think it's such a good opportunity for you to communicate what your brand is and what you want, and to kind of refine it. I had a paddleboard yoga business with some partners the last 2 summers, and we had hired a girl for social media, and it was hard to find the right person because I felt like we didn't know what we wanted the brand to look like. So every time we would find someone, we'd be like, oh, well, we don't like what they're doing, or we don't like this. But it wasn't because they weren't doing their job. It's because we weren't communicating what we needed appropriately. And so as annoying as it was, and we just wanted to do it ourselves, it was really good to be like, okay, no, what's the brand? What do we want to see every, day or every week? Or what do we want to get across? Is it warm and sunny and fun? Or is it like we're going to teach someone something educational? And once you figure out what your brand is and what it's supposed to be, it's almost kind of fun to be like, okay, now you're part of my team, because I'm going to tell you this whole inside story about like what this is about. And you're going to help me build this and grow this and really inspire them to be part of, your idea, your dream, and get it a little bit further.
Yeah, well, I think you learn from that experience, right? You have to actually take the steps, and you kind of picture the person. Like for myself, for example, when I get on roller coasters, I kind of have this like cringing face, like I can't believe I'm doing this right now. This is how I kind of am in running my business. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm going to do it anyways. And I think that's, for a lot of people, a great mindset to take on, because you don't know how it's going to be. And like, luckily for me, with hiring my virtual assistant, I had a mentor who basically was like, dude, hire a virtual assistant. And if you picture that, Thiz face again of me jumping on the roller coaster, that's exactly what it was like for me when I hired my virtual assistant, because I was like, I don't need to spend more money. I want to do it myself. But at the end of the day, I knew I needed to do it. And I like you, I'm starting to learn about the other stuff. I'm like, okay, so I need to think of things a different way. The only way to know those, to go though, no matter what.
And I think too, like if you're reluctant to hire someone or to delegate to someone that you don't know, like maybe there's someone in your life who can help you with other things. Like for a while it was hard to be like, okay, I'm not at a place where I can hire someone for floating yoga school. But maybe I can ask my friend who wants to hang out with me and this is super cheesy, but she would do it. Like, can you make dinner for me once a week? So I wouldn't have to worry about dinner, and she was happy to do it. Wow. We would spend time together and then I would know that I would have like a good, healthy dinner, or like someone, I don't know if your roommate would want to do your laundry, but something to take off your list, I know there's services that do like grocery deliveries. Like it could be as simple as that. It doesn't even necessarily have to be like business related, but how can you begin to delegate? If you're lucky enough to have friends and family that are helpful, like can they share your Facebook page or can they promote for you a little bit so that you're not having to do everything yourself? Letting go of that control is really challenging for most of us. But like you said, if you know that you need to do it, it's just like do it once and then it gets easier every time.
Right.
Yeah.
So what insight do you know now, like whether it's business, life, et cetera, that you'd share with your younger self?
That's a hard one.
Yeah, to kind of push you forward.
Yeah, definitely the goal setting exercise and visualizing exercise. Kind of thinking about what you want, what I would want my life to look like and feel like. And I wouldn't say that it is now different. Well, it's definitely way different than what I thought it was going to be, but I wouldn't say in the feeling wise. Like I feel secure, I feel inspired, I feel excited about where I'm going. And I think that's always been something that I've wanted and known that I need. Like I never wanted to be bored, or like have just a routine. I wanted to have something changing. Things obviously look differently than like maybe I would have thought at 22, 10 years ago. So definitely like think about your goals, but think about them in terms of, for me, this resonates with me, maybe not for everyone, but like a feeling. Like, what do you want your life to feel like? How do you want to wake up? Do you want to be excited? Do you want to be motivated? Do you want to have like awesome friend partners with you? Or do you want to be like the lone wolf doing it on your own? Like what makes you the happiest and go for that. And then I think also like not to be afraid of messing up and changing things, but still moving forward in the way that your dreams are taking you. Because I think for me, there was a lot of things that I maybe was hesitant to change because I felt like, well, no, I started this, I got to finish this, or no, like someone's counting on me. And maybe that goes back to the people pleasing, other people are counting on me to do this. Like, I don't want to quit this job because I just started 9 months ago and it's going to look bad on my resume, but it's not a good job for you and it's not a good fit. So being okay with maybe not taking the traditional steps and changing things in your life that aren't working, even if other people don't get it.
Yeah, well, those are great suggestions. As far as the visualization goes, that's gonna be a little woo-woo for some people. So how can you break that down to like give them a first step to like actually get something?
Yeah, so I would say, and I'll walk through a really fast one, like find a comfortable place in your house, lay down or sit down, make sure your body is relaxed, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. Just notice how your body feels, what's going on. Think about how old you'll be in 10 years, where you want your life to be in 10 years, whether that's where are you living, what kind of job do you have, who are you waking up next to if there's someone, what are you eating for breakfast, what are you going to do as far as work if you're working. Maybe your goal is in 10 years to be retired. So what does that look like? What is going to make you feel comfortable to be retired? And I don't think it has to be a super woo-woo, hippy-dippy meditation visualization, but like taking the time to not just think like, how do I get to next month's bills, which could be, is an issue for a lot of us. Like I have those moments too, but how do I get to this place in 10 years or 20 years, or if that's too far, 5 or 1 year, where I feel really secure and really happy and really excited and motivated about my life. So yeah, I guess, just check back in. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
I really like those suggestions. So tell the people more about the flying yoga school.
Yeah, floating yoga school.
Or floating
I wish
yoga.
we were flying.
Well, you, in a sense, you are flying. Floating yoga school. Yeah. What's the concept?
Yeah. So floating yoga school is definitely an evolution of kind of my dreams of teaching yoga and sharing yoga. I think especially in Southern California, there's so much yoga. There's so many yoga teachers. There's a yoga studio on every block that we take it for granted a little bit.
Yeah, we're really lucky.
Yeah, we're really lucky, but it's also a certain type of yoga. And as much as like I'm a super physical person, so I resonate a lot with that, and that helps me get into the other sides of it. Like there's a ton more to yoga, you know, the mental practices, the breath practices, meditation, even Ayurveda, which is more like the sister science of yoga and like how you eat and take care of your body, the chakras, energy. I mean, you could go all over the place. And I really feel like it's a lifetime practice, and it's something that helps everyone. So the goal is to spread that. So Floating Yoga School is literally going to be floating around different places through retreats, through teacher trainings, through our online YouTube channel, just sharing knowledge of yoga, helping people wherever, you know, we can reach them and wherever they are in their journey. I have a bunch of like 5 and 10 minute long videos because for a ton of people, it's hard to get to a yoga studio. You might live in a place where you're not as lucky as we are here, and there's no yoga studios close by. So how do you take 5 minutes out of your day to do just what we've been talking about? Like visualize, tune back in, check back in with your body, your breath, what's happening, how are you feeling? So little like intros to yoga on YouTube, and then also giving people a chance, vacations, breaks, whether they're 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 weeks, I think are so important to kind of get out of your regular routine, reset. So the yoga retreats are a chance to do just that, to go to a beautiful island in the Caribbean and to spend a week or 10 days focusing on you, have yoga every day, eat healthy, also have some Mai Tais at the end of the day for balance, get back to nature, do a little sailing, do a little swimming, and just kind of reset. And, you know, we'll do some goal setting, we'll do some hippy dippy yoga stuff, but everything's optional. It's like whatever you want to take it and find the time for you. And then teacher trainings. I love teaching other teachers, spreading it. I definitely want to do more community service. That's a big part of Floating Yoga School. So bringing in, as we go to these different islands, you know, not just filming our YouTube channel or YouTube classes that are free. So that's sort of a community service in itself, but how do we teach parents to teach kids yoga so it moves on to the next generation? I think the Dalai Lama said, like, if we teach kids one generation of meditation, it'll eliminate violence in the whole world. You know, if we're able to teach someone younger than us something that they can carry with them, like how powerful is that? Bringing things like energy healing to like hospices. So just finding different ways to give back to really help people, which again is kind of always been something that I've known I've wanted to do. It's just evolved in how I've gotten there. And the floating part is that I don't have to be stuck in one place and have a brick and mortar yoga studio and just feel like I'm helping one community, which obviously has its, you know, ripple effects throughout the whole world, but I can kind of hop around and find different places and connect to different people and team up with different communities.
So what's your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so the easiest way to get to it is tinyurl.com/floatingyoga. Or if you search Floating Yoga School on YouTube. Yoga
School, okay. Go subscribe to that. I'm also going to go link that up in the show notes on our website, which is schoolofdreams.co. And what other links or maybe a Facebook page would be beneficial for people to check out?
Republic. It's 3 weeks, so it's an intensive, but you get certified in 3 weeks, and it's also on a really cool like surf break. So if you're a surfer, want to be outside, yeah, you should go. And then August doing yoga and Mai Tais in the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas and British Virgin Islands. So a little balance, yeah. Some yoga during the day, some Mai Tais at the end of the day. Because I think ultimately, you know, our whole conversation, it's like it's all about balance and kind of coming back and resetting every time. And every day is a new day and a new chance to take care of yourself and then take care of your dreams in that way.
For sure. Well, this has been an awesome interview. Are there any last words that you'd want to share with the audience before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. Do yoga, check out some videos. Definitely take care of yourself for everyone. Thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Yeah. Floating Yoga School, guys, check it out. It will be on the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, keep chasing your dreams.
Yeah.